Welcome. You're listening to Behind the Business podcast.
Do you ever wonder what really happens behind a business?
Well, in this podcast, we explore the trials and tribulations of starting a business and being an entrepreneur. I'm your host, Jason Manarinter.
And I'm your co-host, David Liu. And this is Behind the Business.
What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 20. Big 20. I can't believe it's 20, man. That's a lot of episodes, I feel, for podcasts. Today we got Peter Lai.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me, guys.
No worries, man. Thanks for coming on. I know it's been a while. We've been talking for a while to get you on, right? So,
well, hey, I love what you guys do. Admire you guys from afar, and I really wanted to be involved and be able to say that I was one of the first 50 guests on your guys' podcast before you guys make it big. So yeah, here's me sneaking my way in and being able to say I knew those guys before they were famous.
Hopefully. Your company name is Precision Auto
Films.
Correct, yeah.
Wait, Precision Auto Films.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Checks in the mail, David.
And you specifically work with car detailing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I try to say is we're a detail studio. So, we cater to that 10% where those people are they have a little bit higher expectations. They want a little bit more in-depth work, but at the same time, they appreciate that kind of work. With that being said, though, whether you come in with a 1990 Honda Civic or a 2020 Ferrari, my goal is to treat you the same and to make that Honda Civic owner feel like they own a Ferrari. Mm-hmm. I'm big on when people say, "Oh, I just have a," and that breaks my heart because the thing is, you should have pride of ownership. Mm-hmm. My job is to make you feel like you're in whatever dream car you have, right?
Ferrari or whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's a good concept.
Mm-hmm. Do you deal with more higher end cars or pretty much across the board? Any type of cars?
I would definitely say across the board more so. Mm-hmm. We have had a couple. We've definitely had supercars come in. I wouldn't say any hypercars in the sense of like McLaren or really high-end Ferrari, but we have had a California come in. Mm-hmm. No Lamborghinis yet. Mm-hmm. Had a couple R8s. Mm-hmm. A Bentley Flying Spur, which is a sedan, but still a very cool car to have inside the shop. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I would definitely say 80% of our clientele is, BMW, Mercedes, Acura, Infiniti. We definitely do still see a lot of Ford trucks just because it is Calgary and that's the climate.
Yeah, but a lot of SUVs for sure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you know I used to detail cars too?
In your past life,
yeah.
Right? Where was that?
Dude, we actually had a shop in Airdrie called Auto Spa. So it was me, my brother, and my neighbor actually. And
how long ago was it?
That was oh shoot,
like right after high school.
Yeah, that was like literally one of my first business ventures I got into, and never do that again.
Well, it's one of those things that it's easier said than done on the outside looking in. You're like, oh, that's pretty straightforward. But when you actually get into it,
dude,
it's hard work, yeah. Right? So, but that's how I keep my wonderful physique. So
that's funny. I used to detail cars too at Honda West.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm starting to remember this conversation now.
Yeah.
So, Jason, was your detail shop? Did you have that then the cleaning company or?
No, the first was the car detailing.
Okay.
And that lasted about, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, I think, maybe just under a year. Mm-hmm. And we got up to 3 or 4 cars a day. Mm. And it was actually good. It's good money for sure.
Yeah, margins are good.
Margins are really good. Just a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Literally. Literally.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I literally have a cut on my hand right now from just dry skin from being at the shop so often, right?
Yeah. But washing your hands so much.
But I definitely wear the scars with pride because I think that shows dedication, shows hard work, right? Especially in my industry, if you don't have scars or if you're not dirty, then it's like, are you really putting in your 100%, right? So, no, I rock my scars. I love it.
For me too. I think you love cars.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. I'm just not a car person.
I love cars too.
Yeah, Dave loves cars. So I think that was very hard for me too, where I wasn't passionate about like that, you know?
Sure.
But yeah, let's talk about how you got into it, why you got into it, and how long you've been in the business.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's start what were you doing before?
Yeah. So previously in my past life, I did start off at retail banking. You know, I actually really loved what I did there, but it just wasn't for me. So I did about 3 years with TD Canada Trust. Good times. Learned a lot. And then decided to move over to IT, which at the time I thought I was passionate about. But so I did IT, did a couple jobs. And then the last job was with the Calgary Board of Education as a network analyst. And, you know, it was a good job. Union job, so job security was great. Benefits were decent. The only thing is after 10 years, and this is all public information, but after 10 years, you do get capped at a specific amount. So there is a glass ceiling for sure. So for me to move up at the Calgary Board of Education was very difficult just because all the guys that were above me were lifers and they were still relatively young. So it was pretty much staying in my same job for maybe the next 10 or 15 years. And, you know, to be honest with you, I accepted the fact that this might be my career and I was okay with it. I'm like, you know, there's no shame in having the same job for 20 years. You know, our parents did it. I know that's not how the climate is nowadays, but there's no shame in that. I don't see a problem in it at all. So anyway,
How old were you right at this point?
I would have been late 20s, so probably like 27, 28. Okay. So I think
That's
in
pretty
my
young.
yeah, but you know, at the same time, I was scared because I didn't know what my career was. It seemed like everyone around me was really settling down, you know, coming out of school and gaining their proper job that they went to school for.
Yeah, I feel like at that age, because you're the same age as me, 33, right?
Yes, 87, right?
Yeah.
87. You're 87?
Yeah.
Yeah, 87.
Oh, shit.
Is that a good thing about that?
That's good. I'm 88.
I feel like at that age, 28 to 30, that's where people are feel like things are getting serious, right?
You're going to settle down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it was not just get off track, but did you guys, because, you know, like I said, we're all in the same age, right? But did you guys feel that little panic near the end of your 20s?
I did, especially after I left the cleaning company. That's when I think I was like going through like the biggest change. I was like, holy shit. Like, I think that was like my third or fourth failed business. And I was not failed, but like just didn't work out. Right. And I was like, okay, well, what am I doing now? Right.
Yeah. I think at 25, that's when I got into oil and gas. And then I got out when I was like 28, 29. And that's when I made the transition to real estate. So I find that like, yeah, I guess there is a bit of pressure at that age. You're like, shit, I need to figure my stuff out.
Yeah. Because, you know, we don't have that luxury of time anymore, right? Yeah. Like, you know, definitely in our early 20s, mid 20s, we could afford to take the bigger risks. And, you know, and I think I can speak on behalf of us three that even now in our mid 30s, early 30s, we still need to take risks, especially at being entrepreneurs, right? Sure. But calculated risks.
Yeah.
So
I think right now it's more of like educated risk.
Yeah, for sure.
Like back in the day, I did not care at all what I got myself into.
But you got to make your mistakes in your 20s.
To learn.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you're like making those in your 30s, then you have your 40s. And then by that time you're 50, it's like, it's kind of late. So.
Yeah. No.
But I guess it's never too late either to take a risk.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
So, so then with the CBE for about 3 years, and then, this was all over the news. I'm sure you guys always hear about budget cuts at the Calgary Board of Education. So the first area that always gets trimmed when it comes to fat is IT, because...
So you're doing IT for the Calgary Board of Education?
Yes, correct. Okay. Yeah. And, you know, first department is always us because we don't bring any money in, right? We are a service and a liability almost at that point. So I was very low in the seniority totem pole. So the first year I was when the announcement came out, I was expecting to get laid off, but I was literally right on the cusp of it. Pretty much the last guy to get laid off was the guy that got hired right after me. So the writing was on the wall. So I took a step back and I said, okay, do I invest another year into this career that I know I'm going to get laid off, or do I swing for the fences and look for something new? So the opportunity came up with this detail shop, literally from a friend that said, hey, I have a friend that's selling a detail shop. You want to go take a look? And I was always a weekend warrior when it came to detailing, never actually worked in a detail shop. So I actually had no experience. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, this might be an opportunity, or this might be a sign for me to try something different. So I went to go take a look at it, did the whole negotiating back and forth, yada, yada, yada. And then, we signed on we literally made the deal probably within a month. So it was a very, very scary month, but at the same time, very exciting. So that's how we got into precision auto films. Now, mind you,
and that was about 3 years ago.
3.5 years ago now. Yeah, 4 years now, because it will be 5 years. May 2021.
Crazy.
Yeah. So.
So was it just you?
Oh yes. Okay. So here's the fun part. So the plan was, it was supposed to be me and my father, and I love my dad. Yeah. He's my superhero, no doubt about it. The difficult part though, and just so if you guys know, I'm half Chinese, half Vietnamese, and very stereotypical upbringing. Stern, listen to your parents, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. So it's very difficult when your father has one vision for the business, and me, who is financially attached to the business, has a different mindset. Yeah. So like I said, I wanted to specialize. I wanted to do quality over quantity, right? My father, on the other hand, wanted to do volume. He just wanted to do like the $50 in and out details, just use hot water and call it a day. So that was a really, really difficult part of the business. And my dad worked with me for about 2 years. And I had good intentions. The intentions were to pretty much have my dad hang out at the shop and collect a paycheck from me. I actually didn't really want him working, right? But of course, our parents' generation, that's all they know is to work.
Yeah, they want to put in that work for sure.
Yeah, so it was myself, my father, and my younger brother when needed. But those 2 years working with my father, unfortunately, were hell. It's like, really, there's no way to say it. It actually, in all seriousness, it also destroyed our relationship. It got to a point where I didn't enjoy being around my father anymore. And my father even started, and he's not the kind of guy to do this, but he even started taking little jabs at me, kind of like, oh yeah, well son, you're the boss. And it's like, you don't want to hear that, right?
Yeah. So initially you guys started together.
Correct, yeah.
And then 2 years ago, he kind of just left.
Yeah. The funny thing is, technically, he should technically still be on payroll, because he never technically quit. I never technically fired him, because like imagine trying to fire your father, and being from an Asian background, like you would be disowned, right? Yeah. So
you guys just kind of went your separate ways and mutually knew what was happening.
Exactly.
I remember that about this because I think we went out for lunch and we were talking about that, right?
We were there.
Well, it's funny. So to the listeners, when I really started getting closer to David and Jason, I was going through a really, really dark time with the shop. The shop was failing. I was failing. My relationship with my father was in the gutters. And so these two guys had just kind of really started pushing more so on real estate. So I kind of just vented to them. And I was like, are you guys going through this? Because I'm going through it and I feel like I'm alone. But then, after speaking to Dave and Jason, and, you realize that, this is just a path of an entrepreneur. And it's, unfortunately, I'd love to hear you guys' take on this, but it can be a very lonely road.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough when, like, a lot of your friends aren't in the same, like, atmosphere either. Like, if a lot of your people are, they're doing a 9 to 5, they have the security and stuff like that. But then when you go on your own on a path to, for like your own business, it's really tough to keep it going and even for startups, because like a lot of people don't feel what you feel, and like you see the successes, but you don't see the struggle behind it. And I feel like that's a lot of things that people don't understand. And I find that even now, like with our friends and clients, they're like, oh, it seems like you guys are doing really well. It seems like you guys are doing that. But it's like, we are, because we're grinding behind, like in the back end. And that's the part that a lot of people don't really see. So, and I find that with this, it actually gives an opportunity for us and also our friends and clients and stuff like that to hear the back end stories of the business, so that they can understand that it's not all rainbows and unicorns.
For sure, it's definitely not. And as an entrepreneur too, I say this all the time. When especially as a realtor, it's lonely by yourself. It's so, and even owning your own business by yourself. When you are by yourself and you don't really know what you're doing too, because you're still trying to figure it out yourself, it does get lonely, and there is ups and downs, obviously, right? But what I've learned is, like it's funner to be with other people to grow something, right?
Oh yeah.
And that's something like I've learned in the last just couple of years, is just as a realtor. When I first joined, I was by myself, and I was like, I got this. But it does get lonely. You don't get to bounce ideas back and forth with anyone, or talk about like a deal that didn't go through. And I think that's what people don't see. That's why, and it doesn't help with like Instagram and like they only see the good stuff, right? Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in the saying that you're a product of your environment. So if you're alone all the time, like you said, Jason, you don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of, right? Yeah. Like I'm sure, you vent to Dave vents to you, or you have opinions that he may not have seen. You guys can literally work together. Whereas with myself, right now with it being winter, I pretty much lay off a couple of the guys, and I have my younger brother to bring in if anything, but it's mostly me running the shop by myself in the wintertime. And so the last 2 days, I remember from a 9 to 5 work shift, if you will, I didn't say one word. Literally, because I was just working the whole time, right? And the phone call, but besides the phone, I didn't say one word. And it's lonely in that shop. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's a lot easier to work hard, if you will, when you see somebody else working hard, right? You kind of lead by example, because the thing is like, okay, if I'm working and I see Jason just grinding it out, I'm like, okay, I have to keep pace. Yeah. Or I'm doing something and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna take a break. But I see Dave's been putting in the hours. I'm like, okay, I can hold on another 5 minutes, right? Yeah. So that's definitely a lonely side of things. And social media is such a double-edged sword, because I have no problem admitting social media was the one reason why we are still in business. 100%. But
because you post a lot on social media.
You know why? Because I see the results out of it, right? Yeah. I have customers that would just contact us and say, hey, I don't know what you did to that car, but I want that done to my car. Yeah. So, seeing is believing, right? Because I think, especially with detailing, it's a lot of selling the product or selling the experience. But if you can show it as a tangible asset, meaning like, this is what we're doing, this is how it's going to change your car or whatever, right? People are like, oh, okay, I get it. Now I understand why he charges X amount of dollars, right? And that's the thing. I want to be transparent with my customers, because, I feel like the automotive industry has such a bad taste. People have such a bad taste in their mouth about it. And unfortunately, it's true. I even get anxiety going into a mechanic shop or whatever, or a dealership, right? So I really try to put myself in the customer's shoes, and I say, okay, how can I make them feel comfortable about this? How can I make them feel comfortable about spending a little bit more money on their car? But that's the thing. Once I can get them into the shop and I can show them the quality of work, we always get them for life after that. Yeah. The best feeling is just having a customer run up to you and say, that's not my car. It's seriously, it's the coolest feeling, right? And that's what I strive for personally.
The before and after that you post, and also like the progress through it, and then your commentary on it really kind of gives the owners and also your demographic, like the back, like behind scenes of the business, which a lot of people don't really show. And I find that like you going through it and talking about it also gives people like, they know what's going on with their car and seeing the quality of work. And I think that that's where it really benefits. And I think that just from watching your social media in the last like few years, it's really evolved. Right.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. Like I like watching the videos, and then when you see a friend's car go in there, you're like, oh shit, like they're doing so much to it, right? And then like
It's like you're always so jolly. Also, you're like, "Hey guys, how are you?"
no, it's really good.
Today we have this car.
But you have to show excitement, right? Yeah. Like, it's like if you guys are going to do a showing and you guys are, oh, this wonderful bungalow with open ceilings. Like, you know what I mean? It's not going to do anything for anybody, right? Yeah. But like, if you go in there, you're excited, it's going to reflect onto the customer, and then they're going to feel excited, right? But, to touch on that, it is not all, what was the saying? Rainbow and unicorns.
Yeah, exactly.
It is not all rainbow and unicorns. So,
tell us about that, like your struggles working with your dad and how it evolved after.
Yeah, so the first 2 years definitely was such a growing experience. I didn't understand this until I spoke to my psychiatrist about it. She says that because I was so used to being successful that I didn't know how to fail, which is actually a very good point. We've all taken losses and failures in our lives, but this was on a large scale, like, a business that was attached to my name, right? So
the first couple of years, you felt like you were failing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I had a vision of the shop coming into, I had a vision of what I wanted it to be. And that was the thing. I didn't understand that it would take time. And I knew, it'll take like a couple months or whatever. But like I said, it didn't take I haven't felt comfortable with my business probably until the last 6 months, right? Which is about 4 years in now, right? Or sorry, 3.5 years in. But the first 2 years, I remember there was this 1 week in February. And you have to remember, detailing is very seasonal. And at the time, we had no commercial contracts either. So it was just all retail customers. There was 1 week in February, literally not one car came in. Like the entire week. And I remember as a business owner, I thought, okay, well, if I'm physically at the shop, that means I'm doing something, right? That means it's, maybe a customer will come in or whatever. But I was driving myself crazy, just staring at the wall, just waiting for a customer to walk in. Like literally for 8 hours, that's what I was doing. And it was the worst thing I could have done for myself. So what I've learned now is when it does come into winter, we're fortunate and lucky enough that we are busy. So there's always something going on now. But if I don't have anything going on and, everything's done at the shop, I will not come in because I will just... you will drive yourself crazy being in an empty shop. Like it's not good. So that was definitely one thing I had to learn. Learn was removing myself from that situation if there's nothing to be done. And then another thing that I learned through just talking to people was we tend to worry, and we think by worrying we're problem solving, but we're not actually. We're just worrying, right? But you think, okay, well, if I think about it more often, maybe I'll come up to a solution. But you're just worrying, and you're just literally running in circles, right? So I try not to worry about everything anymore, and just, I know it sounds tacky, but live in the moment and deal with what's in front of me.
Be more present.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that's
a big one.
That's a big one, and it comes up on every podcast.
Being present?
Being present, I swear.
Being present, being self-aware, and like understanding your own like emotions and just kind of like dealing with it at that moment, because like stressing about it and worrying about it is like in the future, right? So you can't control the future, but everything that you do right now in the present will create the future.
Oh, here's a good one, just to relate to that. Depression lives in the past, where anxiety lives in the future.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, my goodness. But it's so true though, right?
Yeah, when you're thinking about the past and what you're not happy with, that's depression, right? And you actually can't do anything about that. You can't do anything about the past, but being present in what you're doing now actually impacts the future. But if you're thinking about the future and what you don't have in the future, that's where you get the anxiety, right? So actually doing something right now about it is actually what they say is like happiness, right?
Yeah. Because you can't control the future or the past. You can only control the present. So that's why it's very important to understand that and just yeah, just like deal with it, and then like essentially start every day as like a new beginning.
Yeah.
And that's what helps create the future. Because if you keep on using the same mindset of the past, then you're going to continue making the past. But if you think about the future and plan for it in the present, then you'll create the future.
Totally.
Yeah, and just kind of touch base on that. Like, if you keep doing the same thing, like your past mindset, if you keep doing that but expecting different results, what is that called?
Insanity.
Exactly,
That's
right?
That's Einstein.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a good
doing
one.
doing the same thing, expecting different results. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But isn't that crazy though? But we
A lot of people do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, I was horrible for it.
But the thing is, they don't realize they're doing that with their thinking. So thinking the same thoughts and like the way you're thinking, but not changing your thoughts. Basically, not evolving yourself to think differently. I think that's where people miss out. Where like it's just not just actions, but you need to change your way of thinking, right?
And was it because they say that, was it from the time you're born until you're about 8 years old, you're creating like billions of these little pathways in your brain.
Yeah.
But for all of a sudden now we're in our early 30s and we're saying, okay, Jason, we need you to think, instead of going left, you need to start thinking right. It's hard to change that mindset.
Yeah.
But if you can do it, my goodness, everything just falls into place, right? Like for me, it was procrastination. Obviously, was a really big thing for me, and learning how to get over that. But I would definitely say learning how to control my emotions and not letting my emotions dictate my actions. Yeah. That was the one thing because I used to always play on emotion.
So did something happen when you discovered that to make a shift with yourself in the company? Like, what was that shift for you?
Yeah, what was the turning point, I guess?
Because it's hard, like, especially, working with your dad the first 2 years. How did you shift your mindset to turn it around? Like, what happened?
The catalyst of everything, and I mean this when I say everything, meaning personal life, relationships, how I dealt with things, business, everything was unfortunately through a failed attempt. So about 2 years into the business, it was June. I can't remember exactly, but it was a month of June. And the business was failing. My relationship with my father was just horrible. Financially, it was in shambles. Just everything that went wrong just went wrong. And I remember for the entire month of June, I lost 27 pounds in 1 month.
Holy.
Every time I would eat, I just threw up just from anxiety. And I didn't realize at the time, but I was literally living in a panic state. And just adrenaline just running through my body. And they actually found this through a CT scan. I guess there was a part of my brain that was swelling, and it was actually putting toxins into my nervous system, into my spine or something, which was actually causing the physical anxiety, by heart racing, not being able to keep food down and things like that. And I was sleeping about 2 hours a day. And yeah, the weird thing was I was waking up every day at 3 a.m., which is like the devil's hour. So that really scared me too. And I was like, oh, what's going on, right? But,
you know what's crazy? People don't know this is happening, especially when you're entrepreneur, right? Working your business. Because like if someone that day was to get their car detailed, you'd be like, yeah, come in, and like no one would know, right?
And that's the beauty of this podcast, is that we can talk about what happens behind the scenes, right? And my promise to you two guys was I wanted to really shed light on how dark things can get, right? But yeah, so the month of June,
this was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, about 2 years ago. And I hit rock bottom. So I remember there was this one morning I woke up and they say death comes in threes. So it was the week that Anthony Bourdain had committed suicide. Kate Spade had committed suicide. And I guess I thought number 3 was me. So I remember I woke up that morning and I felt good. I was like, okay, my heart's not racing. I don't have this heavy pain in my chest or anything. And then like 10 seconds later, just boom, it just hit me like a brick wall. And I remember just thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? If this is going to be my life, if this is how it's going to be for the rest of my life, I can't do it. So I remember I called my insurance company and I asked, and, you know, in hindsight, I feel horrible for the guy that was on the other line of the phone, because he knew what I was asking, right? And he was like, Mr. Lai, da, 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 da. And you can just tell he wanted to say something, but he couldn't. But I was like, okay, so if I were to do this to myself, would you guys pay out my policy?
Oh shit! It went to that,
And he said yes, because that was the thing. I had a plan, right? So so they said yes, and I said okay. So I hung up the phone, and I drove to the shop, and then anyway, so it was sorry, guys. So then anyways, like I said, it was a failed attempt. And then I called the suicide prevention line, and I spoke to somebody for about 2 hours. And Jen, I don't know your last name, but you saved my life. So I checked myself into the hospital for a couple days, and then, but that was the thing.
That was your bot.
That was rock bottom. Yeah. Like there was nothing after that. Like, but that was the thing. Only thing was up. And so my attitude after the fact was, what's next?
So what happened in those 2 days?
A lot of self-reflection, talking to professionals, understanding that there was a physical problem. It wasn't just me thinking. It was, there was actually something swelling in my brain that was causing the physical pain, right?
Did they address, like, how did you get that fixed?
They gave me a medication for it. So so that's all taken care of now. For transparency, I am still on Prozac, 40 milligrams. Yeah. But the end goal is to get off of that too. Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, like, you know what? It doesn't affect me in any way. It doesn't make me feel anything physically. It just, like, like I say, if there's a chemical imbalance in your brain, there's nothing you can do about it. Get help, right? The biggest thing for me was I didn't want to be a poor me case.
A victim.
Correct. I didn't want to victimize myself, right? I said, okay, here's my situation. How do I get out of this, right? So, and at the time too, another thing was I was self-medicating with opioids. Your little typical story. I had a back injury, was taking Tylenol 3s, and then it evolved into Percocets, oxycodone, and then on top of that, with the shop failing, it wasn't a good mixture, right? But that was the thing. I was using the pills to help deal with that. So the best thing out of the failed attempt was getting clean, and I've been sober now for 2.5 years. And then dealing with my mental health, learning how to deal with my emotions. There was this program called DBT, Dialectical Behavioral Therapy. And they teach you just how to deal with your emotions and how not to let your emotions control you. So that was something to this day I still use, because that's the thing. Emotions are emotions, right? They're going to happen, but
they come and go.
Exactly. Yeah. No, 100%, Jason. Yeah. It's all about how we deal with that emotion.
Totally.
Right? Like even right now with my nephew, he's 2 years old, right? And he's learning emotions. And the thing is, like, right now, it's not about how to deal with his emotions. I just want him to understand, okay, this is anger. This is sadness. This is happy. This is joy. Right? When he gets older, then we'll talk to him about, okay, when you're angry, this is how you should deal with it or whatever. But right now, let's just label it, right? So that's what I'm trying to teach him in regards to his emotions. But, literally baby steps, right? But yeah, no, it was a very, very scary time, but I learned so much about myself through it. I don't shy away from talking about it because the thing is, I want people to know that it can happen to anybody. You know, anyone who's listening to this podcast, if you know me personally, I'm like kind of like what Jason said earlier, was I'm the happy-go-lucky guy. And I think that's what surprises a lot of people that I do tell my story to, is they say, well, Peter, you look so happy. I'm like, you know, it's usually the happiest people that are usually having the most struggles. Like, you know, I look at Robin Williams, for example, right? Unfortunately, what a case he had going on. But to the world, he was Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah, happy guy. He was the Aladdin, or sorry, the genie, right? So, you know, speaking from my experience, I put on the front of being happy all the time is so that Dave doesn't ask me, oh, Peter, are you sad? You know what I mean? But if Peter's happy all the time, you're not going to start dating.
Yeah.
Right. So that was my defense mechanism, was being happy. But then what happened was during, like, you know, May and June, before the failed attempt, I did let my guard down a little bit, and no fault of my friends, but they would say, oh, well, Peter, like, you know, you seem depressed, or you can kill yourself. And they would say it jokingly, and we shouldn't joke about that kind of stuff either. But, you know, when you're in a room of guys, it is what it is, right? Oh, no, sorry, guys. I just, you know, just a little tired or whatever. Then I'd have to put on that front again, right? But so what would happen is from 9:30 to 5, I'd be at the shop, you know, having to put on the front for my father, having to put on the front for my customers, and physically still doing the work. Then in the evening, I was working part-time at a software company from 6 to 11. So from 6 to 11, I would race down to the office and, you know, work remotely with my team or whatever. The problem was from 6 to 11, I worked with my friends as well. So those were the guys that were saying, oh, you know, Peter, why are you so depressed? Why are you so, you know, sad all the time that you can kill yourself? So once again, from 6 to 11, I had to put on the front. Then I would drive home, and then from like 11:30 till like 11:45, I would just sit about a couple blocks away from home. So no one would see me, but and I would just cry, you know what I mean? Just let it all out, because that was the only place I felt safe, or I felt okay just to feel what I felt. And then, you know, as soon as I got back inside the house, I would just throw on the front again and, you know, smile and just pretend like everything was good, right? And it's taxing.
It is. Yeah, it's like a mask that you have to wear all the time just to kind of keep the facade of just like the questions and people in your life from inquiring about it. But it actually is doing more harm by holding it in than actually just letting it go. Like, there's actually a Japanese saying that we wear 3 masks. So like the mask that we show the world, a mask that we only show like people that are close to us, like family and friends. And then there's a third mask that you only show to yourself, which is like your true self. Right. So it's like you actually have these masks in different situations, because it's essentially like a facade or like a defense mechanism that people use to create an image of themselves. But the true self is the third mask, and that's like your true form of you, which barely people ever get to see. So it's pretty common, and I found that it's pretty common with men too, because there's always like some sort of image that we need to portray, and we need to kind of build to essentially be socially acceptable amongst our peers and stuff like that. So,
well, even in our culture,
huge.
Right? Like, once again, I love my dad. But I remember even I really, really wanted to talk to him after the failed attempt. And I pretty much asked him, like, you know, Dad, what's your thoughts on, you know, mental health and all that jazz? And he said, I think it's an excuse. And the way that he said his tone of voice, I was like, okay, we cannot go down this road, right? So, you know, to this day, I still haven't shared with my parents about the failed attempt. And, you know, and I really, at this point, I don't really think I need to. I think it would probably hurt them more than anything, because that's the thing, I'm in a better place now for it, right? The silver lining is what you see in me now. You know, the funny thing to all the listeners is that, you know, like I said, I really started getting closer to Dave and Jason when I was in my low point. So they met me and got to know me more so when I was in a dark place, but now they see me, and that's what I think is great, is that, you know, they were kind of along for the ride. You know, Dave, I've never even told you this, but you know, I've always admired and respected your your business savvy and your opinions. And I think that's why, like, I hope you know that when I do ask you for advice, it's genuine.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. I see what you guys have done, what you guys have built for yourselves, and where you guys are going. It's exciting, and I love I love watching it for one. But I applaud you guys for it as well, because I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
Right. So for you guys to do it the way you guys are doing it, with the attitude that you guys are doing it with, I know it sounds tacky, but it's beautiful. It really is.
No.
So
Thank you. And that's the thing. Like we didn't even know that was going on, to be honest. Like I always thought like you were super happy with things. So like it didn't even occur to us that was like going on with you at that place. But
the thing, like we knew, like I knew it was going on, but I didn't, like, you don't know to what extent.
Yeah.
You know, like you did share what was going on between you and your dad, and I remember, like, I got my car detailed, and you're like, oh my god, I can't do this, you know, but it was only to the surface level, right? I think this is the first time you just mentioned all of this to us, right? But yeah, it's very hard to see that, and to actually know, and I guess it's, you don't even inquire, because you did vent, but it just wasn't like you shared what you shared, and like that was it, right? We didn't know, I didn't know, at least, for that it was so serious, right?
Well, so the reason why I reached out to you specifically, Jason, and why we went for lunch was through your cousin. So I was talking to your cousin, and I didn't know that he understands and appreciates mental health the way that he does.
Yeah.
So he came in to get his car detailed, and he actually knew something was wrong. It was weird. Like he could pick up on my vibe. He's like, "Hey, you good?" So next thing you know, we're literally standing in the same spot in the garage for 3 hours talking. And he's like, "You know, you need to talk to. He's my cousin." I'm like, "Which one?" And he's like, "Well, Jason." I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, yeah. He's like, "No, he gets his stuff, right?" So then that's when I called you out for bubble tea, and we went for lunch or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so then we started speaking like that. But you know, and that's why I think one of my big mantras is be kind to everyone, because you don't know what demons they're fighting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I truly believe that. And you know, when I have my bad days, I think there are literally people in this world that would kill for my bad days, or for your bad days, right? And so we really do have to count our blessings. Like, life could be a lot tougher, right? So, and at the same time, that's not to discount what we go through, what anybody goes through. I'm just saying, take a step back, take a really, really good breath in and out, and see what you're worrying about, right? Is it worth your energy? Is it worth the amount of energy that you're putting in? And hopefully that'll put things into perspective, right?
yeah.
So how did it all shift for you?
So definitely getting off the opioids was a huge thing. Talking to professionals, getting on medication to help with the swelling. And then, and now seeing a psychologist has been such an improvement. Like, you know, don't get me wrong. I understand that seeing a psychologist is expensive, but at the same time, you know,
It's worth it.
Oh, 100%, man. Like, so I'm a huge sneakerhead. It's one of my vices.
Yeah.
But, you know, okay, pair of sneakers is what, $200? A session with my psychologist is $200. I get so much more out of that 1 hour session than wearing a new pair of kicks, right? So that's just the way I look at it. Or, okay, you know what? Maybe this month I just won't go out and eat as much, because, you know, nowadays if you go for dinner with you and your girlfriend or your wife or whatever, you're looking at about $150 anyways, right? So, you know, it's money well spent. And was it Jamie Foxx said it really well. He's like, just because we can't see mental health doesn't mean that it's not real, right? So I don't know why we still discount it the way that we do. You know, society is getting better at it. But yeah, we can't shame each other for it. I think we just need to be more accepting of it. And you have to be willing to change too. Like I said, I will never, ever victimize myself. I will never say, you know, poor me or why me. I just think it's like a cop out, right?
Yeah.
But how hard was that to shift that mindset, though?
It doesn't happen overnight, that's for sure. I'm still learning how to shift or change my mindset around it, right? But the biggest thing was definitely DBT, learning
What's DBT?
Sorry, so DBT, the acronym, dialectical behavioral therapy. I know I'm chopping the first letter in that one, but yeah, it's actually based around a lot of Buddhism, and I'm not a practicing Buddhist or anything by any means, but if you were to ask me if I follow any religion, I would say Buddhist, right? So I believe a lot in karma. I believe in a lot of balance, yin and yang, right? So understanding that, yeah, my emotions are just that. They're emotions. It's up to me to decide on what I use that emotion for. So now, journaling has helped a lot, because the thing is, now you can physically look back and say, holy, this is where I was, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, or whatever. And yeah, it does not happen overnight. There's no easy fix. There's no quick solution. But if you're willing to put in the work, my goodness, what I want to just tell everybody is that if you are going through something, it's tough, but it does get better. There's good people in your life. The universe will give you what you need when you need it. You just have to be willing to accept it and put in the work, right? Because like I said, I could have easily sat here and just victimized myself and say, why me and poor me and all this crap. But I decided, I'm like, no, I'm not going to just take this dry. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to fight, right? And the outcome is what you see now. The shop is busy, it's doing well. There's definitely still bad days, but the thing is, the good days outweigh the bad days.
Yeah, right? And now you have a choice.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, right? Like, I find that a lot of the times the emotions are there anyways, but you choose how you react to it. And I think that's where a lot of the power gets back to you, is that, okay, this is the situation that is there, and you could choose to be a victim or not. And that's your freedom, is the choice in that, being able to decide how to feel or how it's going to impact you or everything. So that's the true power, is having a choice on those feelings.
And then maybe even before, I felt like I didn't have a choice. Right?
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's why you get to that low, because you feel helpless, right? When I've been there, I have to tell myself, like, okay, what did I learn from this, and how do I bounce back whenever I have gotten to that place, right? It's like, okay, I'm here, what can I learn from this? And I think that was very critical for myself, is like, these are lessons, not this doesn't represent you, this is just your own lessons that will, like, for your future benefit, right?
And would you say that you can do that now, like live, in the sense that it's like, okay, it's happening right now, and you can actually take a step back and think like that? Or is it, okay, no, it's going to happen, and then 12 hours later, it's like, okay, what did I learn from that? Like, is it second nature yet for you?
Oh, it's pretty close, because I'm becoming more self-aware on how to deal with my thought process, feelings, right? I'm always like, feelings come and go. So whenever I am in a negative state, I know that it's just gonna pass, because you could always look back and be like, I've also felt good and I've also felt bad, right? So when you're aware that feelings just come and go, you become less attached to your own actual feelings. Yeah,
because you know that they're going to go away.
It's going to go away, right?
Yeah. So just kind of to speak on that. So this is what I learned in one of my sessions was. So this is how I deal with my emotions now, and it sounds stupid, but it works for me. So screw it. So I imagine literally in my chest, there's a little Lego man, like a little mini figurine, right? And there's a conveyor belt in front of me. And an emotion comes out. We'll say anger. It comes on that conveyor belt, and it's boxed. And the Lego man will take it, and he'll show it to me. He'll say, Peter, this is anger. He'll tape it up. He'll put a skew on it, and he'll say, you know what? We're not burying this. We're not suppressing it. We're not locking it away. But we're just going to file it over here with anger, right? Because that's it is. It's an emotion, and it is what it is. But it's up to me. Do I want to open that box? Do I want to throw it against the wall? No, it's not going to do anything. So Why don't we just pack it up, put it to the side, and if we ever need to use anger, we know that it's there. And like I said, I know it sounds stupid, but it works so well for me. And that's literally how I deal with my emotions now, right? Yeah. And then because, suppressing any emotion, whether it be happy or sad, it's not good for you, right? Another thing I learned through DBT was exposure therapy. So I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but the way exposure therapy works is like, if you're scared of spiders, you expose yourself a little bit to spiders, then a little bit more, then a little bit more, and then to the point where you're comfortable with it. Now, if there's one thing I want to really get across this podcast today is exposure therapy. So if you're uncomfortable with something, expose yourself to it. And no one's saying to throw yourself into the fire, but just a little bit at a time, right? And that's what's happened with me at the shop. I remember I would come in, and if I had 2 cars getting dropped off at the same time, I would have a panic attack because I didn't know how to deal with it, right? Nowadays, I can have 5 people coming at the same time, and I'm laughing with everybody, right? Because the thing is, I'm comfortable with it now because I've exposed myself just a little bit more, right? And that's been the best thing for me, putting myself into these uncomfortable situations, right? And it's done wonders for me. So, anyone that wants to learn something or try to get over something, really look into exposure therapy and learn how to use that, because it's probably one of the best things that you can do. Was it Will Smith said it? Practice is controlled failure, right? So if we consistently practice at something and we get better at it, it's just going to become second nature, right?
You're going to fail less for sure. Yeah.
You can fail less?
Yeah,
for sure.
Because the more you practice it and the more you fail at it or get comfortable with it, the less stress it's going to be for you, because you're aware, you're like comfortable with that situation, right? Like your car is coming in, 2 cars coming in, now you can deal with 5, right?
Yeah. Like let me ask you guys. Okay, so with you guys being in real estate, what was something in the first year that you were like, oh my good, like, okay, like, was it like trying to sell life and critical illness or something? Or like, what was really difficult for you guys in the first year, but now you guys are like, you almost welcome that situation?
I think for me was the fear of rejection in the business. And then what was happening was I would not be making the calls or contacting people that I need to, because I felt like I was bothering them. And like, you have to understand that this is just the nature of business and service, is that sometimes people need that reminder, something like that, to talk with you on a regular basis before you start building rapport. And then that's how the deals come in. And I think that was a big thing for me, was like, I don't want to be rejected, so I'm just not going to do it. But then it also is like a catch-22, because in that creates your own failure. So so what I had to do was I had to figure out what were my commitments, what I wanted to achieve in life, and then my goals. And if all those things that I need to do were aligned with what my goals were, then it was a no-brainer. I have to do it. Right? So it kind of removes the procrastination and not doing things by understanding what you're actually trying to achieve. And once you have that goal in mind, there is no choice. You just have to do the things that you don't want to do, because that's what will get you there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always have to do the things at the beginning that you don't want to do, because those are the things that cause the results, right?
Oh, yeah.
like at the beginning, man, it's like, you don't know anything and you're scared of everything. And I'm always good though. Like, I know myself that I don't care. I'll do it even if I'm like, don't want to, right?
That's what I admire about you, Jason, is that you really do have it's not scared of failure, but I love seeing your fearlessness. Like, you know what I mean? Like, of course, I'm sure you do have your fears and whatnot.
Of course, yeah.
But the thing is, what I admire about you is that you're willing to take that risk, because I think you're willing to work hard, so you won't regret your decision, because you're like, okay, well, I'm going to go in swinging for the fences, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? But you're comfortable with walking away saying, well, screw it, I did my best, so I have no regrets.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I definitely, that's something that I've always admired about you from a distance. I never told you that, but but that's the thing. Like, I'll be the first to say that the three of us aren't like the closest friends or anything, but you two probably know more about my life than my closest friends.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, because we relate to a lot of things, right? Our careers have now become our lives, right?
Yeah.
Good and bad. But that's the thing. We enjoy what we do. We love what we do, right? I never understood that. Like I always envied people that, they got their dream job, air quotations or whatever, and they're not working a day in their lives, right? At the shop, there's definitely days like, okay, yesterday, for example, I was there at 4 a.m. and I didn't leave yesterday until about 9 p.m. But the thing is, it's mine. You know what I mean? I'm not doing it for anybody else. That's passion. And was I tired? Absolutely. But did I leave the shop with a smile on my face? Damn right I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm proud of what I do. And I think it shows in my work, right?
Did you always knew though you wanted to be to detail cars and run a shop?
Hell no.
No, right? It's kind of a weird you kind of fall into what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Same with real estate. I never thought I was going to be a realtor. I just knew I wanted to own properties. And then it was like mortgage license and property management, then realtor. And I'm like, oh, I actually don't mind this now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. What about for you?
For me, it was as a kid. If you were to if you were to go back and see 9-year-old Peter, he would have just said, "I want to be a businessman." I just wanted a briefcase, come home to, honey, I'm home, and just throw my briefcase on the ground. Like no, that was what I wanted to do, right? And then I remember I don't know why, for the longest time, I thought an engineer when I was a kid was a train conductor. Don't ask me why. I just related the word engineer to a train conductor. So I always wondered why my parents wanted me to drive trains. But, once I grew up a little bit older, I'm like, oh, that's what an engineer is. But, like I said, stereotypical Asian household, right? It was either you become a doctor, lawyer, nurse, engineer, or an accountant. Yeah, right? And then, I was halfway there as a tech, right? As in IT. So I kind of fulfilled it. But that was the thing. I think you guys can tell. I would have wasted my life being stuck inside a server room all day, right? Like I'm a people person. So that was the thing. Every day at the CBE, I was trying to find a way to call in sick because I hated what I did. And then, so then that's why with the detailing thing. Okay, now just to kind of touch base on what we were saying earlier, you fall into what you like doing or whatever, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah. But here's the thing though. Do you think we learn to love what we're good at? Because that was the thing, dude. I never wanted to be a detailer. Like I always liked detailing cars as a hobby, or I like detailing my own cars.
Yeah,
right.
It's different.
Exactly, that's very different than detailing someone else's puke, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was the thing. So I always liked doing it myself for my own cars or maybe my family's car, but never thought I'd make a business out of it, right? But now, I mean, I couldn't imagine doing anything else, right? So do you think it's something that you learn to love, or is it something that was like you know what I mean? Like you just learn to love what you're good at.
Yeah.
You guys see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of the time, the opportunity comes and you kind of just roll with it. And over time, I find that the grind is actually what makes it more passionate. Like you enjoy the satisfaction of your client, the service. You're enjoying like their happiness from it as well.
Oh, 100%.
So you get something from them, and I think the business is like the service and the quality of that is different from actually the detailing itself. Like you get different gratification from things that come from the detailing, but not the detailing itself. So I think that's kind of the same thing with real estate, and like it's just the carrier of the end goal, which is the gratification.
Yeah, I would definitely say that I'm addicted to the emotion that I get out of it. Like for me, it's like saying, oh, okay, Peter, if you spend 5 hours polishing the paint on this car, you can make it look like this at the end of it, and it just like it satisfies that itch in my brain, right? So it's so satisfying. And then secondly, seeing the customer's reaction once they do come pick it up. Like it's like going on a first date, because I get butterflies knowing that, oh shit, okay, Dave's coming at 4 o'clock to pick up his car. So okay, like like what is he gonna think? No, but seriously, that's what goes through each of my customers, right? And if I didn't care about my customers, or if I didn't care about the work, I wouldn't feel like this.
Yeah.
Right. But like, yeah. So the ones that hurt, are the ones that I remember. This one guy, he had a old Porsche 911, a black one. It was like this first full paint correction I charged the customer for. So he did full paint correction, wet sanding, the whole 9 yards, full PPF or like paint protection film install. It was like a $5,000 job, right? And you should have seen the paint on this thing. It was just, I was stoked.
Yeah.
When he came and picked it up, he said, "Oh yeah, it looks good," and it walked away. It broke my, like, you could literally, like, if you pulled up the security footage, you could see the moment where my heart broke. but you know, at the same time though, like, I know he was happy with the work. It wasn't the reaction I wanted, right? And, you know, maybe generation too, right? He was an older gentleman, so
It was a black car, right?
Yeah, it was the black one. Yeah. You remember that one, right?
Yeah, black is the worst to.
But it looks so
fix.
good.
Yeah, it does afterwards. But yeah, black is the hardest to maintain. So
Yeah.
that's pretty funny.
Being in business right now, is it still you running the show? Do you have help? And how have you learned how to run it since the last 2 years to get it going where, you know, you could turn on the heat?
Well, oh yeah. So that's another running gag that I have with these guys is that, and it's not a gag, I guess it's true, but this is the first winter that I'm allowing myself to turn the heat on above 10 degrees in the garage. Okay, anybody that's ever had a garage knows how expensive those commercial heaters can get, right? So for the longest time, I wouldn't run the heat during the winter times. Like, if you went and looked at the thermostat, it was 10 degrees. At most, maybe 12 degrees if I was in a good mood, but it was 10 degrees. But you know, that's the thing. We couldn't afford to keep the heat on that high, right? Which is depressing. But you know, you learn how to stay warm. You dress in layers. You drink hot tea and stuff like that, right? But like, you know, that's kind of like the way I see it. It's like me paying my dues. But yeah, so as of right now, technically, it's myself as the full-time employee at the shop, and then mostly subcontractors. So if things get a little hectic, we'll bring in installers for paint protection film or tint installers. But when it comes to detailing, the paint correction, it's always going to be me doing all of it, or at least doing the final touches, because like, you know, we have
You have to check on it.
Oh, 100%. Like, and, you know, Jason, you can appreciate this, right? It's like there's a standard that we have to hit each time. And the only way that that's going to happen is if I sign off on it. And yeah, so that's why every car that actually comes through the shop will always go through my inspection. No and ifs or buts. So, but yeah, it's me technically working there full time.
And you're doing all the back end stuff, everything.
Yeah,
too.
all the marketing. All the marketing. We have an accountant that helps out as well. But yeah, when it comes down to it, it's me managing the social media, me doing the invoicing, responding to emails, quotes. It's all me, right? So it's tiring.
It is.
Oh, trust me, man. I know how. If you're doing a one-man show, the business doesn't even end after the detailing. There's a whole back end, and especially if you're looking at every car. I know that, like, that's because that's what I was doing too, right? Even with like the cleans and the houses, but maybe in a few years you'll start to delegate, and that's just what you got to do at the beginning of the business. I find
you got to put in that work. You got to understand the business, like, in all aspects of it, so that once you figure that out, and you can you know what you need to focus on to create the most income for yourself, and you can delegate those tasks so that you can actually focus on the gravy, and all that back end stuff can be allocated to somebody else.
And I think that's the next skill I want to learn for myself, is how to delegate, because I have a very hard time just letting go and allowing people to do the work. Because and I don't want to say it's a trust thing. It's just, and that's why in school I hated group projects. It was because I hated relying on somebody else, right? At least it's like, if I fail, I only have myself to blame, right? But I tend to want to blame somebody else if there is somebody involved, right? Because nobody wants to admit to their shortcomings. I'm much better at it now, admitting my faults. But yeah, that's why I don't do well, unfortunately, in a group setting. But it's something I'm aware of, and something I really do want to work towards, right?
the great thing about business is if you need to grow yourself, if you want your business to grow. You need to change your mind. Like for me, just learning how to delegate and grow a team. For me, it's about this year. I've actually learned to delegate, to let go of things. It's letting go of being in control. That's the hardest. That was a big thing for me, just letting go, right? And I think the more busier you get, the more you're gonna realize. I don't know. This is just from my personal experience. The more you have to let go, because you can't do everything, especially if you want to grow. You need a team. You need like support, right? Yeah.
And so that's the thing where I'm at right now is I know that I've kind of hit a glass ceiling, because the thing is there's only so much Peter can physically do, right? If we were to get, say, for example, 5 cars in this week for paint correction, there's no way that we can do it in 5. There's no way I could do it in 5 days with 5 cars. So what's it called? How do you say it? I want to find like a good shop manager to help. So I can delegate to him, and then he can kind of manage the foot soldiers, right? Because the thing is, I'm starting to really understand now. It's not so much. This is a kind of a bad thing, actually. A lot of people come in, they don't want precision auto films. They want Peter, right? Which is, I mean, I'm humbled and I appreciate it and everything, but that's not the end goal. We want people to want precision auto films, not Peter, right? Yeah. So that's the scary thing. So that's what I'm trying to learn. And that's my kind of like short-term 2-year goal. I'm just trying to figure out how to get there, right?
We have that same problem too, because we get a lot of referral business, and a lot of people want to work with us specifically. And then now that we have a new associate, they may not want to work with them. But the thing is that if you can train up your associates to put in the same quality of work as you, then it actually doesn't change. So like as long as, I think it comes down to training, and also the quality that you offer, that someone else that you can pass that on. That's the big thing for us. Is what we're finding is that you want to have the same quality of work no matter whoever is working on the car, and it may not be the exact same as you, because no 2 people are the same. But as long as it's like 80%, I feel like people are okay with that.
Yeah, because I guess for you guys, because the thing is now it's YYC Realty, right? So I'll be honest with you, if I were in the market to buy a new house and I contacted you guys, I would want either Jason or Dave. I wouldn't want another guy. That's the truth, and I'm just being honest with you guys, right? So so that's kind of cool. You guys are going through the same thing as I am.
It was.
That's what we're learning right now, but we are getting a lot of like random deals that we can pass off now, but still be in flow, right? I think now it's kind of like managing. Right? That's kind of what we're learning right now too, right?
So like, what would be the end goal for YYC Realty? Is it to have multiple associates under belt, or have another partner come in as well? Or is that like behind the scenes?
I think we're working right now with one associate and learning on how to deal with this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then once we kind of have that model and prototype, then we can kind of scale it. So, but you have to, in order for you to actually do that, you got to just try and see what like the, like what works and what doesn't work. And then also just kind of optimize and just streamline the process of that.
Is it like when I put a posting out for a shop detailer, we had a lot of applicants and a lot of guys with the experience, but the problem was they were coming from a world of volume. So, this is no, like Bubbles, for example, is a very well-known car wash, right? Now, they call themselves a detail center, what have you. In my honest opinion, I say that they're a car wash, right? Whereas with us, we're a detail studio, right? So there's a little bit more in-depth work, a little bit more care that comes out of it. Number one advice for everyone that's listening to this right now, if you do not want your car to get scratched, do not go to the car washes that have the spinning brushes. The way I tell my customer, or even when you go to the coin operated, do not use that brush.
Yeah.
A lot of people, you would be
tire
surprised.
brush.
Dude, you have no idea how many people use that on their car's paint and they think
stupid.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's ignorance is bliss, right? But my rebuttal to that is, do you guys ever see anybody clean that brush, right? You never see anybody clean it. So
It's a tire brush. Not
yeah,
a
the
car
tire brush. Exactly. So anyways, word of advice, guys, do not ever use the coin or the spinning brushes. But that's the thing. You go to Bubbles and like I said, this is no shot at them. This is how they do it. But their exterior washes are run through a machine with the spinning brushes. So
And I'm assuming you guys don't do that.
no. No, everything is done by hand at the shop.
Yeah.
Even my method of doing a panel, for example, is, say for example we're doing a door. I'll wipe it down with a wash mitt, and then I go and flush out that wash mitt right away. Because that's the thing. What if it picks up a piece of gravel? Like, you would be surprised at how soft clear coat really is. So it doesn't take much for it to scratch your paint, right? But that's the thing. I take pride in that. So yeah, it may take an extra 10 minutes to do an exterior, but it's done the right way, right? And I'm sure you guys can relate to this. There's a lot of corners that you guys could probably cut in closing a deal, but is that the right way of doing it? Is that the experience you guys want to leave for the customer, right? Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that, everybody has a realtor, right? But the thing is, what separates you guys is, in my honest opinion, is customer service, right? Even when I talk to you guys and we're going out for lunch, I'm very comfortable around you guys. So I can only imagine how at ease I would be as a customer with you guys, right? It was funny, we were just talking about this off before we started the podcast, but I asked Dave if his monotone voice was trained or if that's what he was born with. But that's the thing, whenever I speak to Dave, it's very calming. It's I feel like I'm in front of like an Asian Morgan Freeman. It's awesome. Like, I would love to have you as like my audiobook voice.
That's so funny. It's funny because people told me that they're like, your voice is really good for radio, and I was like, well, I guess I never thought about that. And then we got into the podcast.
But you would be like the 1 a.m. radio voice. Like, you're the guy that people want to fall asleep to, right? I don't think you could do the first like 7 to 9 a.m. shift.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I'd be the morning shift.
Yeah, me and Jason would be the morning shift. Peter and Jason at 9 o'clock. Well, Jason, if things ever go where you're in the detailing world and real estate bores you, maybe we'll try to do a podcast or a morning show or something like that.
I feel you've made a shift. How is it now? At what point were you happy with the business? When you're like, okay, I'm comfortable in my skin now with this.
Oh, probably the last 3 months.
Oh, wow.
In all seriousness, things definitely started changing for the better last spring. Yeah, last spring, and that's the thing. Like, we're finally starting to build traction with our name.
What caused that change, though?
What caused that change?
Because I understand 2 years ago you went through your thing, then a year, like, you were developing yourself in that last year, or what happened there?
Yeah, I would just say the book of business finally became more stable. We have a couple commercial accounts that keep us steady during winter and things like that. But it was just really repeat customers finally coming back. Referrals, word of mouth, that I'm sure you guys can appreciate, is huge, right? Because, buying a home is a very intimate process. Your vehicle is a very personal thing. So, and especially the way that I advertise our business, it's an experience as well, right? So just finally having the trust of the general public, the people finally coming to us, they were looking for us rather than me having to sell ourselves for the first 2 years, right? So they're coming for a specific service or a specific experience, and the things we're delivering on it now, because Dave told Jason, it's like, oh yeah, go see Peter because this is what you're gonna expect. The best part is we always deliver on it, right? So we have that consistency going for us now. So that's definitely helped a lot. And now I know really timing wise, like, okay, what I can look at a car and really give myself a proper time frame. Whereas before I would either undercut myself or else just doing it way too quickly to the point where quality was actually dropping, right? And that's not what we wanted to do. So I had to really take a step back and say, okay, we're going to have to start learning how to say no. And not say no to business. But the thing is, just explaining to the customer that it's like, hey, if we want this end result, we cannot finish it in 2 days. So just learning how to set the expectations for customers too, right? Like I'm sure you guys can relate in your world. I have this house and it needs to close by next Friday, right? You just be like, "Yeah, what?" Like when I was working in retail banking, we had customers call all the time. It's like, Peter, I put in an offer, and possession is next Friday. I was like, you're giving me a week to get this deal done? It's not going to happen. I mean, we somehow did make it happen, right? But it's ridiculous. So learning how to set the expectation was definitely a huge thing.
It's like learning the product and being more, it sounds like you were more comfortable of your ability as the years went on of how to price it in your time.
Oh, and so that was one thing that really...
Because at the beginning, you're probably like, yeah, I'll take this car. I'll take this. Yeah.
Dude, you should have seen the things that we would have taken for $200 back then. Like, I'm literally getting shivers just thinking about it. But that was the thing. Because we had no name, we had to take every job. And we had to almost take it at whatever the customer wanted to pay for it too, right? Now we have the luxury to say... Like I will never say no to a job. But the thing is, I know my worth now at the same time, right? It's like, okay, this is going to take legitimately 2 days and we cannot do it for $100. Like, stupid example, right? But that's just understanding my worth and learning when to say no correctly. And without belittling the customer or making them feel any way, right? So that's been a huge thing for us. Those days of, I remember this one vehicle, for example. It was a Dodge Caravan, and it had one of those stow and go seats in the middle, so it would fold all the way down to the floor. And I kid you not, because it was a what's the word? Like when the bank a repossession.
Yeah.
So it was a repossession. So the owner of the van knew that it was getting repoed, so they just trashed this thing. Like they put cigarette butts inside of the air vents. And so here's the stow and go one. They had the seat up, but they opened the bottom portion and they peed in it.
Crazy. So,
and the reason why I knew was because once we hit it with steam, all I could smell was urine. So, but that was the thing. And, and I think we charged that, it was a used dealership that bought it from auction. And I think we charged them like $400 to do that entire minivan. And it took me, dad, and my younger brother 2 full days on a Saturday and Sunday with no disturbances to do this van. But we only made $400 off of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like but that's the thing. That was me paying my dues. Screw it.
Yeah, exactly. I find that like as you get deeper into the business, you kind of know your worth and your time, and you have to just be like honest and realistic with clients too. And a lot of the time they will understand and appreciate that.
Oh, 100%. And especially when it comes to their cars, honesty really is the best policy. Customers are very understanding if you're just honest with them and you set the expectation. Because there's been plenty of times where I'm like, Dave, okay, you come drop off your car Monday, we'll have it ready for you Wednesday. But because the thing is, and then I'll touch base with you, say Wednesday morning, and say, hey, Dave, the end result that we're gunning for, it's not going to happen by the end of today. But if I can keep it for another day, this is my action plan. This is what I'm going to do. Customers are more than happy to work with you, right? It's the guy that says, it's the guy that tries to blame it on somebody else or tries to throw somebody else under the bus. And customers can pick up on that stuff. They know the customers are not stupid, right? So if you're just honest with them, man, like customers appreciate it. They love it. They don't mind it. So, and anytime there's a problem that I have to address with my customer, when I bring it up to them, I try to have at least 2 solutions, right? Because that's the thing. I don't want to come to you with just a problem and say, okay, well, Dave, what are we going to do about this?
Yeah.
Right? If I come to you and say, hey, Dave, this is my roadblock, but we have option 1, option 2. What are you more comfortable with? Right? You're going to appreciate that because you're like, oh, okay, well, Peter put some thought into it, right? And so that's what I try to do now. But 100%, man, you nailed it on the head about setting expectations with customers.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what happens at the beginning of I swear to God, every business the mistakes that you're learning is costing you. Like, but that's where you learn. You have to learn from your mistakes.
Yeah. It's okay to make mistakes. You just got to learn from them.
Exactly.
Right. It's just because we were talking about paying dues, and then I was having flashbacks of that minivan, right? In real estate, what would you guys consider paying your dues?
Oh, at the beginning is cutting for me, like cutting commissions large.
Yeah. Okay.
And underselling yourself of like, I remember I did this deal and I made like $1,000 and I was both sides and I just wanted to get the deal done. Right. And I was like, why did I just do that?
Yeah.
Right? And that's when I was like, okay, yeah, never happened. But it was like when you're first new into real estate, you want to do anything to close the deal.
Yeah.
Right. But as like, especially now, like I feel like we don't want to do that at all.
Yeah.
That, and also for me, it's like have everything in writing.
Yeah.
Like documented. Because the thing is that just because another realtor says that they're going to do this, when it comes down to it, they're not going to do it if it's not written in paper.
Yeah. No, true.
So, and then you're the one that is on the hook for it because it's actually your client that you're representing. And just because this person said that they were going to do this and they didn't fulfill, then it's like you're the one that has to deal with it, right? So,
You know, one thing that I have had to learn is how not to, I don't know, say stereotype, or like put a blanket over all people, right? Like we've been burned by a lot of guys who, curbing a car means selling or flipping cars, but just out of your home. So say, for example, if I'm curbing cars, I'm buying a used Honda Civic on Kijiji, I'll fix it up, polish it up, sell it for $100 extra. Like, you know, that's called curbing, right? So a lot of guys curb cars and they'll bring it to a detail shop to get a polish and an interior detail done so then they can post it. So we had a lot of guys that were curbing cars, or they had, you know, small mom and pop used car dealerships, right? So we were doing their detailing, blah, 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 blah. And it was always COD. So they would pick up the car, they would pay for it. Pick up the car, pay for it. Then eventually they're like, you know, Peter, could we do like net 30 or, you know, net 60 or whatever? I'm like, okay, you know what? Things have been good. Sure. Right. And then surely enough, that's when they bite us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we did one, the first time I gave him net 30 and we did about 4 cars, gave him the invoice at the end of the month. And he's like, no, Peter, I'm not paying for any of this. I'm like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, that one for $400? No, it was only worth about $100. And he never did that before.
Yeah.
But as soon as we did net 30, that's what happened.
Yeah.
So long story short, that one, he ended up paying nothing.
Oh, yeah. You just lost them.
Just lost it.
Yeah.
Right. And so now when a mom and pop shop comes in and says, hey, Peter, we'd like to use you as our detailer and all this stuff, it is so hard not to stereotype them in that sense. But, you know, it is what it is. Right.
Yeah. You got to learn from those, right?
Yeah. It's a very, very tough line. Because like I said, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, you know, and I've learned this too, that, you know, when they say it's not personal, it's business, I'm really learning that. it's tough, man. It's not easy to, it's not easy to not take it personally, right? Because that's the thing, when they
say business is personal.
they say, yeah, no, and it is. I really don't know how, like, but I'm learning, hopefully, to learn how to separate it. But that was the thing, when that guy screwed us over, how do you not take it personally, right? Really, to him, all he sees is dollars, ones and zeros. But to me, I see he's spitting in my face.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the hard part. And I'm still learning how to deal with that. I've definitely gotten a lot better at it. When customers come in, you know, they're haggling or bargaining or whatever, I don't take it personally. It's a numbers thing. Right. So that's fine. But yeah, when dealerships or, you know, whenever customers start saying you, it hurts a little bit, right?
What was the worst car that you had to deal with?
Oh, that minivan.
Oh,
by
yeah.
by far. We had one. We didn't take it in, but the customer called and he said he ran over a skunk. And he was like, I need to get the odor out. And I just immediately said no. I didn't even entertain it. Because the thing is, what happens if we bring that vehicle into the shop and then the smell of the skunk is covered in the shop? Yeah. I don't know how to air it out. And like, you know, like they say it's that odor is just impossible to get out. So like, hey, no, we're not taking this, right? So that was a scary one. Another one So yeah, just I'd rather not talk about it because they're just disgusting. And yeah. But like I it comes to the territory. It doesn't bother me so much now, just because the thing is, it is what it is, right? Like, you're gonna get these kind of cars. It's just learning how to price them out accordingly. And kind of like I wanted to touch on this earlier was because I never worked in a detail shop, I didn't know how to charge accordingly, right? Like, do we do this by hour? Do we do this at a flat rate? Do we do it at a flat rate per service? So even that, to this day, I'm still trying to learn. I mean, I have a very much better grasp around it, and I have a good framework around it. But yeah, no, it's hard to price those things out, right? For me, though, at the same time, I try not to undercut the industry either, because the thing is, if we start undercutting another shop, then they start undercutting us. Next thing you know, our margins are slim and they're next to nothing, right? So I rather try to stay competitive, but at the same time, stay in line with industry standards, if you will, right? Like, I'll give you guys a quick horror story. In Edmonton, so paint protection film, commonly known as 3M. 3M is a company, it's a type of film, but it's not a verb. But yet people use it as a verb. So in Edmonton, there was a group of PPF installers that were doing really well, and they had like a monopoly over it. So they were doing well, all this fun jazz. Then there was like internal problems. It was a family. So part of the family split off, started doing their own installs, and then the other family did their own installs. Next thing you know, they start undercutting each other so bad. Like, to give you an idea, a full front clip, I charge retail $1,500, right? At my shop. In Edmonton, you can get a full front clip without haggling for $900.
Crazy.
And that's because of that one family. They destroyed the market in Edmonton. So even like the Expel rep, which is the brand that we use, the rep for 3M, Dave said everybody knows about this Edmonton story. So they're all like, we need to make sure that this doesn't happen in Calgary or any other city, right? So it's just one of those funny stories that you hear about. You're like, holy crap, that can actually happen, right?
Yeah, so it's like a lose-lose.
It really is, right? And I guess, the only person that wins is the customer, right? But the thing is, if both businesses aren't making money,
they're both going to shut down.
Exactly, right? So then the customer's out of it anyways. So, and another thing I'm learning too is like, customers would call in, and you have to compare apples to apples, right? So customers would call in and say, well, Peter, there's this guy in Kijiji that will do the polish for $100, and you can't compare. And that's why we never advertise on Kijiji. Once again, no shot at anybody that advertises on Kijiji or has their services on Kijiji. It's just the people that are on Kijiji are usually looking for a deal. Call it as it is, right? So with us, absolutely, we can talk about doing a group package or something like that. But at the end of the day, our work will always be quality over saving money.
For sure, yeah.
And our customers understand that, and they appreciate that, and that's why they come to us, right? If you're looking for a deal, or if you're looking for, excuse my English, but a half-assed job, then maybe you might be your option, right?
You get what you pay for.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And same thing in real estate, right? Like, I could go to a realtor that does volume, but get that horrible, unpersonable service, or I can go to someone that specializes a little bit more like you guys, where I know that I can contact and, reach out. Oh, I wanted to ask you guys this. So with me, with Instagram, Facebook, and online emails and all that fun jazz, right? Customers, I love you guys, but okay, 8 p.m., you guys will send me a DM. 8:30, you guys will send me an email. 9 o'clock, you guys have some reason to decide to call me when you know the shop closes at 5, right? It's like, I understand that with technology, we're so easily accessible, but it stresses me out when the customer expects us to respond at 9 p.m. I know with you guys being realtors, you guys do have to work odd hours, and the customers actually understand that, right? How do you draw the line? Right? It's a tough one,
I cut off after a certain time, like especially during dinner time.
So do you have a hard?
Yeah, I don't even look at my phone.
Okay, that's good.
So and
that's why you never respond to me at 9 p.m. David, what you wearing?
and then I'll respond again later between like 11 to 12
p.m.
To 12 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. And then what we'll do after that is I'll stop, and everything that is after that will be allocated to the next day.
Okay.
So I have like hard stops on certain things because there's like you need to make time for personal things.
Yeah, for
as
sure.
well. So that's where I kind of draw the line. You just have to set hours for yourself. And I think that clients will start to understand that, that they can get a hold of you in certain times. But like, because if you're busy, you're busy. You can't just respond to everything. But, or at least just let them know that, hey, I'll respond to you tomorrow or something.
Yeah.
You just gotta let
that's
them
true.
know.
Yeah. Jason?
I think for me, I let it balance out throughout the day. So I'll disconnect and I'll work kind of when I want to work and respond to people when I want to respond. But I have a lot of allocated time for it.
Okay.
If I'm doing something and I don't want to be on my phone, I won't, right? But most of the days, I would say you're getting a response from me within that day. If it's urgent, it'll get settled right away.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would say for me, it's like there's a time and place for it, and if I don't want to respond, I won't. But I'm usually good to respond that day.
Yeah. And the same thing with me, right?
Unless it's like 9-10 p.m. Most of the important stuff is dealt with during the day, I would say.
And that's what I mean. So like between 9 to 5, of course, like customer phone, email, or whatever, absolutely. If I'm available or if I have that moment, believe me, I am responding. I'm just saying at 8 p.m. when they hit you up on Instagram, then 10 minutes later they hit you up on the email, then another 15 minutes. And this is all between 8 and 9 p.m. and the first interaction. So it's just like, and they'll even say,
I think the best way for you to deal with that is just be like, hey, I'm just busy for the night. Could we deal with this in the morning?
Yeah.
And clients are usually respectful of your time, right?
Yeah.
I think in this world right now, it's so demanding. People demand so much of your time, especially the younger generation. They want answers now.
Yeah.
But what I find is like, if you just communicate and be like, hey, I got your message. I'm just busy, but could we sort this out tomorrow morning? They're pretty respectful, I would say. Right?
Set the expectation, right?
Set the expectation with them that you're like the time that you've acknowledged that they've contacted you, but that you will set some time for them tomorrow.
Yeah.
So there's one guy, he was just sending me a mass amount of messages on a Saturday morning. And then I got back to him Sunday afternoon, and then legitimately, I was actually camping with my family. So I said, I'm so sorry, I didn't get back to you right away, but I was camping with my family. And that actually triggered him. He was like, "Oh, Peter, I'm so sorry." He's like, "I forgot it was the week." I'm like, "Oh," but just for him to even acknowledge it was nice, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, well, thank you for acknowledging it." But then, made me even want to do a little bit extra for him because he was nice. Like, you know what I mean?
But those are the people you do want to work with also.
100%.
Right?
100%.
The people that don't respect your time, I think that's those are harder customers, obviously, but yeah.
So anyone listening to this, if you go into a business and you're expecting stuff to be done or your guns a-blazing, kicking down doors and stuff, for me personally, yes, I'll do whatever it takes to make the customer happy or make things right. But, for the guy who comes in and is just genuinely nice, I will do something extra
above
or
and beyond.
100%. Because the thing is, what frustrates me is, that saying, the squeaky wheel always gets the grease. But what about the guy or girl who is just nice and who doesn't always complain or doesn't have ill intent? You know what I mean? So I actually make the effort to look for those people, and I say, hey, I'm gonna do this, or I'll do it and then explain it to them afterwards, because I say, I don't want you losing faith in humanity or losing this desire just to be a good person. Like, you know what I mean? Keep being who you are, and the universe will pay you back. And hopefully me doing this for you was a little bit of the universe paying you back. Right?
Totally.
So
Karma.
Oh, 100%, right? But yeah, there's some evil people in this world, man. Especially in the automotive industry. Scary people.
Is there any last things you want to say about business that
Business, personal.
Guys, use me as an example. I think just kind of like what the guys were saying, everybody knows Peter as the happy-go-lucky guy, but believe me, I have my bad days, right? My only ask is, if you guys are going through something, please get help. Talk to somebody. There's a lot of good resources that are out there for you. It's just a matter of fact of you trying to find it. And that was me. I didn't know where to start, but I started at the hospital, right? And learned what was available to me. Then I spoke to professionals, and it's an ongoing thing. But I can honestly say I'm getting better at it. Nothing in life that's worth it is easy, but it's so gratifying when you can do it yourself and to say that you did it the right way and you did it without hurting anybody. You did it without cheating anybody. I go to bed every night knowing that I can sleep without any guilt over my head or wondering if this is going to come back and bite me in the butt. Right. And that's, it's such a satisfying feeling, having that. And, and secondly, just work hard, have a good work ethic. I know we're all used to having things so quickly now because of Google, but you got to stay the course, enjoy the process, and count your blessings. To all my friends and family that I may not see all the time, just know that it's because I'm trying to make this thing work. And the people who genuinely do love me and care about me know that. And I'm sure you guys can relate. There's some people who they don't get why we work so hard or why we work the hours that we do. But it's because we want to grow our business. We want this thing to succeed. And unfortunately, there's sacrifices that have to come with that, right? I look at Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant, when you physically look at him, he has no God-given talent, really, right? 6'7", 6'6", decent size, right? But he's not ripped like LeBron James, or he has this man-child physique. But because of hard work, he's probably arguably one of the 1, 2, 3 greatest basketball players of all time. And that's just through work ethic, right? We all know how sickening his work ethic is, but that's the thing. Because he worked hard at it, he is who he is. You get someone like LeBron James who has God-given talent. I mean, he has great work ethic, don't get me wrong, but could you imagine what Kobe could have done with LeBron's physique and Kobe's work ethic? It's crazy, right? So I always use that kind of stuff as motivation. Play to your strengths. My strength is customer service, so I really weigh heavy on that side of things, right? But yeah, guys, just try to enjoy what you guys find in life that you enjoy doing. Tell people that you love them because tomorrow's not promised. So, don't just, life is beautiful. So just enjoy it as much as you can. And guys, I really, really do appreciate you guys having me on here. This is honestly, like a great psychology session. So.
No, that was awesome. That was really well put. I really like that. Yeah. Where can we find you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, you guys can find us on Instagram at Precision Auto Films, Precision_Auto_Films. And as well, but our Instagram is definitely the best way to get a hold of us. We're constantly showing stories, showing our work on there as well. So if you guys want to learn some tips, you guys want to see what we do, please give us a follow on Instagram. And hopefully we'll eventually see you guys in person or see your cars. That'd be great.
What's the physical location of the shop?
Yeah, so we're just off of McLeod and 42nd, just by the Holiday Inn there. McLeod and 42nd, physical address is 4509 First Street, Southeast. We are commercially insured for pickup and drop off. So if getting to us is a difficulty, just give us a shout and let us know. Like I said, as soon as we hop inside the vehicle, it's the company insurance that protects the vehicle. And I'm an old man driver now, so you guys don't have to worry about me pushing too hard on the car or anything. I love what I do, guys. So hopefully you guys can see that in the work, and we'll get to see you guys in person one day.
Thank you for listening to Behind the Business Podcast.
Remember, you can find us on all social media outlets and reach out to us if you have any questions. And remember,
everybody, enjoy their life. Don't wait. Just do it.